Save the Spandex, episode 291. It is January 28th, 2025. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. Recording this on a Tuesday afternoon / evening. It's been a nice little, start to the week for me. I've actually been doing all right. Kind of just getting back into my typical agenda, schedule, and that kind of thing. I've been doing all right so far. You know what I mean? It's been like a good start to things. So that's been nice. I also felt like I had like a good. I have a good sense of kind of how I kind of want to shape out this next period of time for me, and I also have some things ahead that I am looking forward to. Things that I've already, talked about, like obvious things, like, things here and there, games, whatever. But outside of that as well, I have some things that I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm looking forward to kind of planning out and that kind of thing. So I'm feeling optimistic on kind of my side of things, trying to figure stuff out. But yeah, it's been nice. Kind of a good start to the week so far. Yesterday we had like a pretty significant slate of games. Sunday there was only like one game. I'm talking basketball games. Because I think they were trying to kind of, it was a little hard to compete with like the NFL and stuff, right? Because of the championship games. And then, now we kind of have now we know that it's going to be the Chiefs and the Eagles for the Super Bowl, which is the one that I think a lot of people were fearing was going to be the result. The boring matchup, as some people call it. So I don't know. Again, I'm not, we'll see if how I'm feeling about it going into it. I'll probably check it out, probably, watch bits and pieces of it here and there, but I don't know what the plan is going to be for me, considering that, again, it lands on my birthday, so it's like, I'm obviously not going to have that take precedent. I'm going to do kind of my own thing, so, I don't know. I'll probably just be tuning in here and there, but nothing too much outside of that. I'm not going to invest so much of my time necessarily, but yesterday we had like a nice kind of slate of games. It felt nice. It was kind of it felt sort of it kind of had that same vibe to a fall, early season schedule where it seemed like every team was on. Not every single team, because the Warriors weren't playing, but a lot of teams were playing yesterday. So I was kind of, flipping through. I was kind of league surfing as I will. And I kind of caught some fun ends to some games and that kind of thing. And it was fun. It was cool. I watched a pretty exciting game come down to the end for the Rockets and Celtics. Seeing Amen Thompson hit like a game-winning shot. That was pretty cool. That was pretty fun. Not a big fan of the Rockets, of course, but listen, it's if there's like a good game, I will check it out. If there's a game coming down to the wire, I'll probably be, at least somewhat interested in tuning in. Some other games that kind of caught my attention. I watched bits and pieces of the Knicks and the Memphis game. I think there was a bit more of an expectation for that to be a little bit more competitive, but the Knicks ended up kind of blowing things out of proportion and blowing things out of the water. So, Knicks basically won by like 30 points or something, or at least 20-something points. I also watched the Raptors and Pelicans game. Weird choice, I know, two subpar teams, but listen, that's just kind of, sometimes I like watching those games. I honestly like watching those teams more so than the better teams sometimes, just because I kind of want to get a sense of the direction that these franchises are moving in. Toronto is a very interesting case, right? They have some really good pieces with Scotty Barnes, with RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley. They have some other smaller you know, secondary players as well. But it's kind of like, where does a high draft pick kind of fit into this roster? You know what I mean? Would a Cooper Flag work with this roster? Considering, would there be kind of a bit of a redundancy with a Barnes position, with a small forward, maybe power forward position, or would you kind of slot Barnes to the 4 and have like Cooper Flag or whoever at the 3? I don't know, but it's like they're a very interesting team. So I feel that they would be kind of a place where you could sort of imagine there being a potential growth to being a good team in the East, because they have some good players. They're just not quite there yet, obviously. They have some. I think they have some things in place, some some culture setters and whatnot. But it's gonna take more than that for them to kind of get to the next level. So I'm curious if they are able to draft another franchise level-esque player that they can kind of pair that in a good fashion alongside Scotty Barnes to, kind of propel them to the next stage, which is, maybe not, obviously not to like a contender level, but to a point where they can be in, competition for a playoff spot. Yeah, I think it's kind of, it's not the best, obviously, to watch the worst teams in the leagues play. Earlier on, I think it was kind of fun to, get a sense of who the younger players were, the younger prospects were, and that kind of thing. But I mean, it's just completely fallen off the rails for Washington. Like that it's just horrendously bad with that team. So it's like, hopefully for them, they are able to kind of, get something going, because they are in it's tough, man. Like, if they don't at least get like a top 3 pick, oof, that's tough. And I know this draft is said to be pretty deep and that kind of thing, but if you are, I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough. Last year was kind of an exception to that, where you had Detroit be, the just kind of them. I guess they were actually pretty close with the Wizards in terms of how bad they were, in terms of record wise. But considering how bad of a season that they did have, it's like you kind of want the you kind of want sort of the gods, the basketball gods, to favor you and give you a number 1 pick. That didn't happen. Luckily for them, it didn't really matter too much, because this year's draft picks are not, it's just like the rookie of the year could be someone from the second round or late first round. You know what I mean? So it's not really, I don't know. It's not exactly, it wasn't exactly as big of a disaster as it could have been. You know what I mean? Like, if they had completely tanked during the Wembanyama year and they didn't, like, that's tough. I mean, they got 5th, right? And I think they got Asar Thompson in that draft. So, I mean, he's still a good player. You know what I mean? Obviously, it would have been better to get your franchise, a generational player. But I think they're in a decent position considering what has happened, and they are in the playoff picture now. So it's like, it's kind of worked out for them. You know what I mean? For the other teams that are like clearly tanking, it's like, once they do get their franchise player, is the turnaround going to be significant enough to the next year where they will be in like a play-in contention or lower seeded contention? And I think that's really hard to say, because most teams don't really go that quick of a transition. You could look at the Spurs right now. They're still not exactly great. But they might get, they will get better. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some trade stuff that came up today, actually. And that's probably most likely going to happen after, once this week and leading up to the trade deadline. But yeah, it's like the first year Wembanyama was not great. It wasn't good. They were still one of the worst teams. And then this year they're finally, it looked like they had some pretty they had some nice early success in the season. Now they're kind of, falling into sort of the middle of the pack. Well, I think the best that they can hope for this year is to be, in playing contention, unless there is like a significant season turnaround where they may be able to sneak into the playoffs proper. But I don't know. I don't. It's a little hard to see that happening, but you never know. You never know. So yeah, it's kind of like, once you do get your franchise player, whoever that might be, it's like there's going to be some growing pains there. So in the case of something of a team like Washington, it's like if you are able to get a Cooper Flag or someone, I don't know who's going to, who they're ultimately going to choose, but they're still going to be bad. You're not going to just completely turn things around like that unless you bring, unless you kind of go through the process of doing like a Houston did and bring in vets and that kind of thing, or a Detroit, right? And to kind of really solidify a sense of culture and direction and that kind of thing. So that could be the next thing that they do, is to, establish some vets into, but they already have that kind of, you know what I mean? They're still just bad. Like, they have Jordan Poole, Kuzma, Valanciunas. I think Brogdon is still there as well. So they have vets. It's just like it is just a bad combination of all of those players, because there's clearly no hierarchy right now. There's no clear best player on that team. So like, once you do get that, maybe the combination of all of them will make it kind of work together. I hope that hopefully they are able to get into a position where they are better, and maybe they can be decent next year. I don't know. It's a little hard to say. Maybe once, like, they're rookies, Bob Carrington, Keyshawn George. I don't know how much he's really playing, but I remember he was playing well earlier in the season. And Alex Sarr, right? If they are able to kind of really develop as really good players, as good, like, rotation, I mean, I think they're most likely going to be starting, if they aren't already, going into next year. But really good, just kind of complementary pieces to whoever their franchise player is going to be, I think is really, I don't know, it could be, like, I think it's pretty exciting. So hopefully that direction is going to be kind of what they're going to be moving towards, and that they are moving in a positive direction. So that's really the hope, right? I think that's the hope of really any franchise. I just think for a team like, until recently, like a Detroit, who have just had very little playoff just experience in general over, like, the past decade plus, I think it would be nice to kind of see them, be in that position. I know, like, the John Wall Wizards were, they did get into, like, the first round sometimes, but, and then you had that one Russell Westbrook year, but outside of that, it's been really, there hasn't really been sustained success, unfortunately, for Washington. So for a franchise that hasn't been able to get kind of to the next level, I think it would be really nice to see, kind of see them have some level of success moving forward. Let's get to it. Let's get to the trades. I'm not saying trades haven't happened yet, but there continues to be more some trade rumors. Really, kind of the only ones, honestly. But they are big. I'm talking, of course, Jimmy Butler. But earlier today, I think it was not him directly. I don't think, because in the Jimmy Butler situation, that was very clear that he's the one that was expressing that he wanted to be traded. But De'Aaron Fox has sort of expressed that he's wanted to be traded through his agent, which is not super surprising considering the position that they were in, like, a month ago, right? This was before the Mike Brown firing and everything, and when they were really just at an awful position, right? Where it almost seemed like a kind of an unsalvageable season in certain ways, but they were able to turn it around, and now they're kind of back in the playoff mix. But yeah, it's kind of I guess there is just hasn't been this kind of reconciliation between him and the team, despite them turning the season around. And I don't know, is it going to be is it just due to money? Is it just due to the fact that it once the year, once this season comes to an end, when he is going to try to negotiate for a new contract, does he feel like he's not going to be able to get the money he deserves, or he wants rather, from Sacramento? Like, is that kind of the situation? Is it a similar thing with, with Jimmy Butler? I'm not quite sure exactly what his, what Fox's reasoning is for wanting to be traded at this point. Is it just like a dissatisfaction with the organization, where he just doesn't feel like he's able to, where he just kind of wants to move to a different place, different city, or different, team. It's interesting because it's a little different from the Jimmy Butler thing. It doesn't feel as like contentious. It doesn't feel like there's just this really just bad blood between the front office and the player. It's just different, you know what I mean? It does kind of make for a bit of a sticky situation because, like, Fox did play yesterday. So I'm wondering, like, whatever, the Kings' next game is like, is he going to be playing, or are they going to kind of put him, like, shelve him in a similar way to Butler? Butler, it's like they just suspended him indefinitely. So it's like, it's just going to be, they're going to trade him, right? And I sort of said this, like, when I recorded this weekend, that I thought he was going to be traded, like, that week, but that didn't quite happen. It might just kind of lead up right until the trade deadline, when he eventually gets traded. But yeah, it's just like that's pretty much over in a sense. Now it just has to find, now the Heat just have to find a suitor that is willing to kind of take him on, which might be the Warriors potentially. Like, we're kind of, it seems like we're sort of back in the mix, like after a little while. Like, originally a little while back, when these kinds of when this whole thing started to kind of pop up with Butler and the Heat, the Warriors were kind of poised to be a potential trade partner, but I think that sort of fell to the wayside, and now it's kind of come back again, which means that I think the Heat are more willing to take less for Jimmy, and whatever assets that they take on, they're willing to just kind of trade him for a lower value. Is sort of what's been kind of perpetuated, and I guess that kind of makes sense, right? Mainly because I think the Heat just kind of want to trade. Like, it's sort of like Jimmy is kind of pushing them in a way to make it happen, and the Heat are sort of maybe budging a little bit and are willing to kind of trade for whatever is available out there, just because they want this whole fiasco to come to an end. But yeah, I think just kind of going back to the Fox thing, it's just different. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's less. It doesn't feel as like It doesn't feel as like just this like bad blood situation. It feels that maybe there's just been some kind of disagreement, and Fox just kind of has his own wants at this point. I mean, there are definitely times, especially, I remember, like, because I watched the ending of that Kings Pistons game, when he did foul Jaden Ivey on that 4-point play, which is crazy to watch. Like, he just, and just kind of the aftermath of that, he just looked so checked out. And again, they are in a better position now than they were before. But I guess in his case, winning doesn't really necessarily cure everything. And yeah, so it just kind of, it seems like that's kind of the end of his era in Sacramento. It seems like the preferred destination of his is going to be San Antonio. pairing with Victor Wembanyama. And this is kind of going back to what I was talking about in teams and rebuilding / developing teams. Eventually, kind of transitioning to a point of where they are a contender or whatever. I think if they do get Fox, that actually it will depend on who they give up, right? I don't exactly know who they would be trading necessarily. Are they going to take back Harrison Barnes? That's not going to happen, right? That would be crazy. But I think it's probably going to be some of their younger players, right? So their depth might take a bit of a hit there. So they might not actually be as good. They might kind of be in the same realm. They might be in the same ballpark as they currently are. It's just until later, until those other players around Wembanyama start to get better, right? Like a Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell. I don't know. Maybe Vassell is going to be included in that trade package, or a Sohan. I don't know. Are they also going to be included in the trade? So it's going to be is it worthwhile for San Antonio to kind of do that? To take Fox on, who is really good, for kind of this almost immediate future right now. Obviously, Wembanyama is their kind of the core, and he's the guy, but for the next couple of years, is it going to be is it going to work out for them? I'm not quite sure. It's a kind of an interesting thing to think about in some ways, but again, I'm not a GM. I don't know how I don't know how trade negotiations really work. What are they looking at that would kind of determine the cost benefit of taking on someone like Fox, to kind of move forward with, including him alongside Wembanyama this year versus maybe later down the line. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, a lot of, you got some rumblings going on, I think it feels, and listen, I'm more so kind of trying to manifest it in a certain way, some kind of move to happen for the Warriors' sake, right? Whether it is a Vucevic or a Jimmy Butler or whatever, it's I just try something. I don't know. Is it gonna hinder? How badly is it really gonna hinder them? In the future, are they gonna be giving up a round, a first round pick that is so valuable that it's that draft pick could have been the next big thing? I don't know. It's really hard to say, you know what I mean? We are not in a position like a OKC where we have stockpiled so many draft picks that we can just kind of give away some, we have to kind of give what we have. And so, I don't know, is that gonna kind of hemorrhage our future? I have no idea. But again, I'm sort of reiterating what I've been saying for a while now. It's right now. The future's kind of now. You just got to do what you can right now. We're not going to win a championship, but at least we'll kind of see some competitive basketball. Maybe we'll see a first round playoff run of sorts. Outside of that, barring some kind of miracle, I'm not expecting too much. I think it would be just good to see some level of competition at this point in age. I would like to see Steph maybe just get a chance to do one more playoff run if he can. I think that would be really nice to see. And if we're able to kind of achieve that, that'd be good. Again, I'm not seeing the path forward to us being the same level as the top 6 teams, 5-6 teams in the league. We're just not there anymore. We had a very we gave off a very good performance in the first 15 games or so. We looked incredible, but that just was not sustainable, and we're back to where I thought we were going to be, and it would just be a kind of a matter of making some kind of move to where there is another player that can kind of be someone that can be a secondary creator alongside Steph, and that can also be on the other side of the ball. If we do get a Butler, We will get even older, which is fine. It is what it is. We're gonna end up being one of the oldest teams in the league if we aren't already, and we just kind of have to ride with it. It might just be. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully that would get us to a point where we can at least just play in and then get first round exit. That's kind of what we're hoping for. Is that a little pessimistic? I think it's very reasonable to feel that way. Anyways, yeah, a lot of stuff is happening. Obviously by the time I post this, I feel, it's going to be this, including this, upcoming weekend, whatever I record this weekend. But by the time that I do post, things are probably already going to happen because the trade deadline is on the 6th, I believe, so next week. So yeah, by the time that happens, by the time this gets posted, it's already going to happen. So I do think it is just the way that I kind of structure this pod. It's kind of looking at things historically. It's kind of funny looking back on the things that I say and seeing how wrong I am about some stuff. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, That's just sort of how I like to do things. I don't know how well it would go if I just immediately posted things, you know what I mean? I like to kind of set things up to where I'm giving myself like a bit more of like a timeline of sorts, like a week, this is this week and not like today. If I was doing this like daily, that would be tough, you know what I mean? That just wouldn't work. Like I just wouldn't have things to say certain days. So that this is just the structure that I kind of that I've settled for, and it's worked out for quite some time. More Switch 2 stuff. It's been sort of quiet on that front, but there's been some more rumblings about publishers, kind of talking about bringing over their, third parties kind of bringing over their games to the Switch and that kind of thing. So that's been kind of fun to see. There's been some more kind of discussions that I've been, seeing here and there about potential February Direct and that kind of thing. Some of those are just sort of, kind of treading the same ground that I've talked about before, talking about, potential like remasters and stuff like that. I think it might be worth exploring maybe kind of like what are some of the things that they could talk about in the next Direct. Like it might be the case of it being another sort of maybe remake / remaster heavy Direct, which I would be fine with, you know what I mean? The heavily rumored Fire Emblem game, I think, is Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War, is the full title. That one has been heavily rumored. I think that might be Fire Emblem 4. I'm not quite sure which one that is. And I would love to see that. I've heard good things about it as well. Apparently it's like one of the more, highly sought out games in the series. And I've been kind of wanting, I had like a nice sort of, I had kind of a nice flavor or, taste with Unicorn Overlord. It is a different game for sure, but I still got that kind of feeling that I had when I played through like an Awakening or a Three Houses, you know what I mean? Where I was just like sucked in at certain points during my gameplay. And I'm hoping that I kind of get like a similar, I'm still kind of like, part of me is still kind of looking for that. And maybe that will be sort of the next, if it does release and if they do announce it, that might be kind of the next thing on my list of like a strategy RPG game. That would be really exciting to see. I would love to. That would probably be, a pretty early pickup for me, honestly. It's just depending on, the way it looks and, how people are looking at it. But yeah, I've said this in the past, in kind of this past year, how I've sort of, I haven't really delved into like Fire Emblem in quite some time. Engage, I just unfortunately, and listen, with Unicorn Overlord, the story was really not that, it's not that deep. It's pretty straightforward and simple, but I think they did a good enough job to where the characters were, relatively interesting. The gameplay was just addicting. It was super addicting. And just kind of the world map and the way you explore the world, and you kind of do these little small quests here and there. All of these things kind of combined, I think, made for a very just like engaging game. With Engage, with Fire Emblem Engage, I know from what I've heard that the gameplay is kind of the main draw of it. You know what I mean? I've heard some of the dialogue. I've seen like maybe parts of some cutscenes, and it just does not entice me at all. It just doesn't appeal to me at all, unfortunately. So it's like, is it worthwhile? You know, the game might be like the gameplay and the battles might be awesome, but is it worth it to, like, if I'm like cringing through cutscenes and I'm just sort of like really dreading getting into like a cutscene? I don't know, man. It's part of the game. I feel like I can't just like neglect that and just like push that to the side. I feel that would just kind of like, I don't know, that just kind of takes away from the experience, because that is part of the experience, you know what I mean? It's gotta, not every aspect of the game has to be a complete package. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but if a significant, you know, aspect of or element of the game is so poor that I just, it just kind of brings down the rest of it. It's gonna be hard for me to, it's gonna be hard for me to kind of get into that, you know? So it's tough, man, because I am craving that kind of game. I'm craving kind of like a grid-based battle system, you know what I mean? With just like just give me like a decent story. I recently, well, actually, this was maybe like a year plus ago. I did end up downloading the other two Fates games. It was you know, just because I had oh man, what was the name? I had the one where you played as like the Hoshido tribe, and I didn't play as like the other two kind of routes in that kind of series of games. And so I just like I downloaded it because I know this was like right before the 3DS eShop closed. So I was like, you know what? Listen, if I ever just like am like wanting to play it, Conquest is what I'm thinking about. It's Conquest and Revelations. If I ever wanted to kind of get into those, like I can have those, you know what I mean? It's like maybe I just am wanting to do that. The issue is also kind of the story for those apparently kind of suck ass. So it's like, is it, you know, apparently the gameplay in Conquest is really good, but it's still just not a very good story, unfortunately. So it's like, will Fire Emblem ever find like the balance of that? I mean, I didn't have really any problems with, you know, like sure, maybe some of the battles in Three Houses weren't like super interesting, but I still thought it was a lot of fun, you know what I mean? Like maybe some of the maps were pretty, you know, weren't as like interesting, or as like challenging necessarily, but I had a good time with that. So it's like, I don't know, can Fire Emblem ever find the balance of like getting like a good story like in a Three Houses plus good gameplay like in a Conquest or an Engage? I guess that's sort of the difficulty of trying to find that balance. I don't know what it is, but I don't know what it takes, but like hopefully they can strike it in the next one. And maybe they can with Genealogy, you know what I mean? I mean, I loved Shadows of Valentia. That was kind of the remaster or the remake of the second game. I loved it. The story was solid. The characters were cool. Even if the map was maybe, you know, pretty bare bones and stuff like that, I still just the way, just the composition of everything, just the whole package I think is just really well done. The music is incredible. Like that's a huge selling point for Valentia, and why I consider it to be one of my favorite Fire Emblem games, like outside of maybe Awakening. It's just like a complete story and everything. Like once you go all the way through, you're like, it's just like, that was very good. That was a very satisfying experience. and you get to hear some of the best tracks in any of the games. And it's just good. It's just really well done. And I think they implemented a lot of really good like quality of life stuff, which I'm assuming weren't with the original like NES or whichever system the second game came out on. And it's good. It's really well done. I really enjoyed it. So if I can get some, if I can get even kind of around that area with genealogy, I think that would be really cool. And I feel like I would probably enjoy it. You know what I mean? And I think that would be really exciting, and I would absolutely be interested in picking that up. So that's kind of my hopes, just kind of with the rumors that I've been hearing regarding this upcoming potential direct in February. That's kind of what I'm maybe pinning my hopes on is that, and maybe some other remakes as well. They'll probably show a little bit of Xenoblade X, which will kind of get me more excited for the game as well. So yeah, I'm really, I think it will be pretty decent. Probably nothing too crazy, obviously, because they don't want it to overshadow the Switch 2 news in the next couple of months. But it will give us something to kind of, please our appetite for the time being, and more things to kind of look forward to on the Switch, not even just on the Switch 2. Anyways, that's gonna do it for now. Yeah, we got some stuff coming up this week in terms of just like trade deadline. Obviously that's gonna be next week, but I have a feeling that things will probably happen this week. Since there's just kind of feels like this like acceleration, feels like things are moving forward. So if they do happen, I'll definitely talk about that this weekend, and I'll talk about anything else that pops up and that interests me. But yeah, that's gonna do it for now. So I will catch up later this weekend. Okay, I'm recording this on Sunday. It's the February 2nd. Let's just go right into it, because I've been it's been it's been a whirlwind of things happening, and just as I was about to record, another trade went down. But let's just start and let's just get it out of the way. Luka got traded to the Lakers in, I think, what is considered the worst trade in NBA history. I'll give a little rundown of what kind of happened when I saw that. So basically it was like 10-ish. It was like 9 or 10, I think. Maybe it was like 9 o'clock. I was just chilling. I had the Trailblazers and the Suns in the background, because why not? It's just like some basketball. Overall, yesterday's kind of slate of games turned out to be kind of There wasn't really anything super interesting in terms of results or whatever. And I was kind of going through some feeds. I was going through some threads. I think I was just like reading up on some game thread. And just like some random ass comment that was like, Luka to the Lakers. Like, it seemed like it was just like a troll meme comment. I didn't even think anything of it. I was just like, all right, it's just some stupid kid that's just like putting stuff out. And then I started to see more of those like comments just pop up. I'm like, okay. I refreshed. I went to the NBA subreddit, the main NBA subreddit. I refreshed, but I knew the first thing I saw was that Shams Charania had tweeted that the Lakers have traded Anthony Davis to the Mavericks, and the Mavericks had traded Luka to the Lakers, basically, right? I mean, there were some other pieces there, but that was really the main thing. I didn't believe it. I think that myself and a lot of other people thought Shams got hacked. And so he had to follow up a tweet and he said like, yes, this is real. I still couldn't believe it because like that type of language is not. He's usually not that person. That's like usually he's like very like straightforward. He had to clarify that it was real because it was seeing it on paper is the most, or just seeing it in front of you, it is the most absurd thing ever. And the fact that it's real, and it's been, it's been a little less, almost a day now since that happened. I cannot believe that they completely just nuked their franchise, the Mavericks. It's unbelievable to the point where it feels like it's some kind of like psyop conspiracy type of thing going on, collusion, whatever. There's been a lot of pieces that have come out about the Mavericks GM Nico Harrison, how he's had kind of some other things going on, like he was apparently part of like the I think Steph, he was supposed to sign with Nike, but that deal fell apart because they misnamed him or something, and he was like he was sort of like an instigator of that. There's some other things that have maybe popped up, and his connection with Rob Pelinka and the Lakers and stuff like that. So it's all very it stinks of something, but at the end of the day, it might just be an idiot GM making the worst decision possible. I mean, trading your franchise potential Hall of Famer player who led you to the finals last season is absurd. It is. I'm trying not to swear because I've been kind of like I immediately when I saw that I went on a FaceTime call with some friends. But it was just like I'm still, and I think many other people are feeling it. My real biggest thing that I'm sort of like, my feelings on it, my state of where I'm at right now is that I just have the deepest sympathy for Mavericks fans. I mean, I'm not even a fan of Luka. I don't really care for his, I don't really like Luka. I don't really care for the Mavericks, but I just feel for that fan base. Like it's an absolute fucking travesty. It is. It's not even malpractice. It is just like, there's an even stronger word that you can use to associate this whole situation with. It's an absolute nightmare, dumpster fire, whatever. I do not blame Mavs fans for quitting on their team. I do not, listen, if I was in their position, I'd probably do the same. If I saw, if I see the Warriors front office, trade Steph, back in the, in 2014, before they won their first ring, I think people would be rioting in the streets of Oakland, and I would be part of burning Oracle down. I don't believe it. Someone needs to examine the GM Nico Harrison's brain for something. I don't know what the fuck is going on with that dude. If there's some other thing going on where he's getting pocketed some extra, it just feels so shady, and just it stinks. You know what I mean? I can smell it. It just reeks of something. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's so bad that I don't even know. To essentially tank your reputation as a franchise, as a team, is just so crazy to me. I just don't believe it. I've never seen something like this. I don't know if there's even an equivalent that I can think of. It's just okay, they did this so they could purposely, another conspiracy, whatever, is they purposely traded Luka away to tank the franchise value so that the owners could sell and move to Vegas or something like that, which is still stupid. It's just I don't I don't know. And the owners clearly signed off on it. Why would they, Like, this type of deal is something the owners would sign off on. Or was it like a thing where the relationship between front office slash owners with Luka was so poor that they're like, you know what, fuck this guy. We're just gonna send him to LA. Like, we know he wants to be in LA, so but we're just gonna like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. Like, here's the thing, Luka's gonna be fine. Like, like, right now, it sucks for him, absolutely. Like, absolutely, this is like a fuck you to him in a lot of instances. But it is a, you completely just destroy your fan base. You lose, you know, you lose not only, like, fans of the team, you lose fans that, that are just like Luka stans or whatever. You lose international fans. You lose everything from this. It is actually, it's so mind-bogglingly stupid and absurd that I feel like there's got to be more to this other than the GM being a complete dumbass, which I think is part of the thing. Like, he is a dumbass, but also there's other things that just kind of have happened. Like, because there's a step-by-step process. Like, someone signed off on this. The owners also agreed to this, so they don't give a fuck either. I'm kind of pissed on the behalf of the Mavs fans too, because it's like I'm seeing it from their perspective because of how ridiculous this is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such like I don't even know what to say really, other than just kind of regurgitate the same sort of things that I've just kind of been repeating to myself and saying to my friends as well, that this is shady, this is collusion, this is like, some other, I don't know, it just feels disgusting in a lot of ways. And also, you just ruined your fan base. You just completely destroyed any integrity, any goodwill. I think Mavs fans should just not go to the games. It should be empty. I don't think you should give a dime to them. Like, that's just what I would probably do if I were there in their position. I mean, it is just so psychotic. I don't even know, like, it's just like running out of adjectives here. It's crazy. And it's just like, it's so weird too. Like, I just keep going back. It's like last year they were like in a great position. Right now this year they started to kind of slide in the standings a little bit because of their injuries, because Luka has not been healthy, and I understand that's been something that's been sort of lauded as like the reason, because he couldn't keep in shape or whatever. I'm like, dude, like last year he led your team to the finals. And it wasn't even like, this is like a half year, less than half of a year with this roster. So it's like they didn't even have the time to like gel over the course of a full season. This season, sure, like people, like players in and out of injuries, like it's a bit of an up and down. It's like, okay, they could still absolutely compete in the playoffs. Like, even if they were the seventh or eighth seed, if you were Oklahoma City or like Houston or whatever, you wouldn't want to face, you wouldn't want to face Dallas. You wouldn't want to face Luka in Dallas. Like, they are probably one of the most dangerous. Like, they would have been one of the more dangerous, like, lower seeded teams in the bracket. So it wouldn't have really even mattered if they had to like sneak into the play-in or whatever. And even then, it's like, okay, it might be a bit of a lost season. They can come back next year. Because they have a good team in place. So I don't know. It's and then there's like the whole Supermax thing. What the fuck are you talking about? You pay him. What are you talking about? You have your franchise player. You will pay anything. You will pay whatever. And I know I'm someone who's like, players are overpaid. I get it. I understand that. But when you have like, he is he will be like, one of the faces of the league. He is the face of your team. You pay him whatever it is that he deserves. Whatever the supermax is, $300 million, like whatever. If you need to pay him like $300 million for like 5 years, I don't even know what the supermax. He would have been the highest paid player, and you would have done it. Like, so what if you lose some of those other pieces? Like, he is the core. He's the centerpiece of your franchise, your team right now. And it's just, it's so, man, dude. It like, it pisses me off because it's just like, not only do I feel for fans, but also it's just like the fact that this idiot has all this power, and also the fact that these just absolutely moronic, brain dead, team owners who apparently are pretty shady on their own. They got some entanglements with wars and shit. It seems like they funded, some of the things going on in Israel. It's just like, dude, I like, it's all it's all bad, but like these absolutely corrupt individuals, they hold so much power in just completely ruining and tanking this franchise. And now it's just like fans are like, all right, you know what? I guess I'm not gonna watch. I'm not gonna watch. So it's like, it doesn't make sense on any fronts. Like, even if you tie in all these conspiracy pieces, it's like, dude, like, you do that, you're public enemy number one. You put a target on your back forever. Forever. Like, is it worth whatever? Maybe you get like some under the table deal, some paycheck. If someone sees you walking around in Dallas, nobody's gonna, dude, like, don't even bother. Like, it doesn't matter how much you get paid to do this at a certain point. Does it matter how much money you somehow garner from this, and then you get like an off, like, I don't even know. It's just like, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's like upsetting as just like a fan to see this type of fucking nonsense happen. I mean, I'm sorry I keep swearing. I'm gonna try to cut it back. But it like, dude, I'm mad right now. I'm not even a fan. I can't even imagine what it's really like being a fan. So I don't know. Dude, it's bad, man. It's bad. I mean, like, I think, here's the thing. Long term, I'm hopeful that the team will recover, but you will never regain the trust of your fans ever again. Like, maybe they get good, somehow, but you will never regain the trust of the fans that were here on this day or yesterday when it happened. You're just not going to do it. That's not going to happen. You effectively broke the trust of the players. So it's like, players are not going to want to come to Dallas, and then fans are also not going to want to watch your team play because of how it's run. Like, it's like run like some kind of like some nonsensical, like you're playing 2K. You know what I mean? It's like if a 14-year-old got like controls to just pressing all the buttons. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Let's just do it for the hell of it and see where things go. That's just kind of the vibe that I'm kind of getting from this. You know what I mean? And it is just so absurd. I'm curious what other GMs are thinking about this. Like, I want to hear like other GMs like thoughts, and like, see if there's like any questions that, like, dude, like, if the NBA doesn't like at least like pry into this a little bit, like some sort of investigation, I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. I'm really not someone who likes to question things, who likes to not question things, but who likes to kind of pinpoint, conspiracy theories. Oh, this is a conspiracy. This is a ref job. This is like a, this is all this is all just like a plan so that blah, 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 Lakers get the player that they deserve, and, viewership goes. Like, dude, I don't want to be that guy, but it's like, it doesn't look good. You know what I mean? It doesn't really look that good. It's entirely possible that everyone might be overreacting. I really don't think so. I don't think people are overreacting. I think this is the worst trade that I've ever seen gone down in sports, at least in my lifetime. And I don't know. I feel that there needs to be some level of like investigation or something to kind of look into this, because this just feels so, it stinks. It reeks, man. I can smell it from all the way over here. It's bad. And I don't know, man. I don't know. It was shocking seeing it, and now I'm just kind of like, dude, it doesn't make sense, man. It still doesn't make any sense. So it's just like, I don't know, man. So it's like, even in the eyes of if you look at it from like a player, team perspective, it's like, okay, maybe the Mavericks are still, like, they might be good now. Like, they might have a decent team now. But dude, what are you talking about? Like, he could have been with the team forever. Luka could have. He could have been he could have been he could have been just a one team player, similar to like a Dirk kind of thing. And there was like the torch was passed down to him and everything. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I feel like some stuff is going to come out. More stuff is going to come out over the coming days, over the weeks leading up to the trade deadline, which is this Thursday, you know what I mean? But dude, I feel so much for Mavs fans. Like, it just, my heart goes out to them. They don't deserve this. They don't, man. Like, honestly, if this happened to any team, even if this happened to any team, I would feel for them. Like, it feels so, like, dude, it's just like getting the freaking, just like, plug pulled out. It's ridiculous. So I don't know. There's going to be stuff that comes out. I feel confident about that. It just feels like there's more to this on top of some of the other, like, shadier, notes and details that have come out already. I don't know, dude. It just doesn't add up right now. It doesn't fully add up. Like, could it just be a case of the GM being a complete dumbass? Sure. I just don't buy that. I don't buy that right now. There's got to be more to the story. There's got to be some other shady dealing, some collusion, whatnot. And I hope that other people are able to kind of put in more effort into investigating. Check up on that dude, Nico. Like, he's incredibly suspicious. I don't know, man. I don't know what's up with him. I don't know, man. He just seems kind of out of whack. Yeah, just crazy stuff, man. Okay, now on to, so again, right before I recorded, a trade happened, just been confirmed. Let me pull it up, actually. So the Chicago Bulls are trading Zach LaVine to the Sacramento Kings, which also results in De'Aaron Fox going to the San Antonio Spurs. I think let me read the full thing. Full trade. Spurs, De'Aaron Fox, Jordan McLaughlin, and then the Kings get Zach LaVine. I don't know who that is. Three first-round picks, which is pretty good. 3 second-round picks, also pretty good. The Bulls get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and they also get a pick back. So the Kings are basically the Chicago Bulls again. That's so funny. Like, this would have been the if the Luka trade didn't happen yesterday, this would have been like, whoa, But nope. It's just less shocking, because, like, it feels like anything is possible, Like, this feels reasonable. This feels so much more reasonable. Like, it's still kind of like, whoa, but this feels like a real trade. Not some bullshit, like, nonsense computer generated just trade. Like, this feels like an actual trade. I mean, it's just like the Kings are now the Bulls, basically. which is good for them, I guess. It's so funny, man. Yeah, I don't even know what to like. I don't even know what to add at this point. Because it's just so. It doesn't even feel like it doesn't even feel that important. Doesn't even feel that important in relation to anything. So, but I mean, good for the Kings, I guess. Good for the Bulls. Good for the Bulls more so for getting off that. I guess the Spurs get De'Aaron, so that was kind of like expected. I think that's been sort of in the works for quite some time. But I mean, Chicago finally they're picking a direction. Finally picking a direction. Good for them. They made something happen, and yeah, it's good because it was time. You know what I mean? They've been sort of, they've been kind of slowly losing games, and they're still technically in the play-in, but it feels like they're finally picking a direction. Next on the block is Vucevic, and it feels, I think, it might be a Warriors thing, might be a Lakers thing, I don't know. But yeah, that's probably next up, and then Bulls can finally go. They finally can rebuild. So good for them, man. Good for them. But dude, my mind is so scrambled right now. I'm just gonna pause for a bit and then come back. Just give me a second. Okay. It's sort of like interesting where the Kings kind of are right now, because they are sort of in this weird. I mean, they're essentially in kind of the exact spot as the Bulls in the Eastern Conference, but now they kind of have this team. It is almost. I do think like Sabonis is probably better than Vucevic right now, but in terms of the roster makeup, it feels very similar in a lot of ways. They might be a fun team, but it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I think with the first round picks and stuff, they have a lot more flexibility. So it's like, even if it doesn't really work out this year with this particular team, they can try to move stuff around. They have the ability to kind of control their future now because they do have some picks. So I think it puts them in like a decent position. Obviously still not like great necessarily, but De'Aaron was going to be moved, like Fox was going to be moved. That's been kind of rumbling for about like a week plus now. And his connection with the Spurs was sort of, inevitable. And I think it seems like this works out for really everybody in this in this trade with the Spurs, the Kings, and the Bulls. So this feels very amicable on all sides, which is kind of how all trades should work. Most trades should work. So good for all of the teams. Spurs now have someone alongside Wemby. Like, that's going to be a fun team to watch. Going to be interesting. I don't know if necessarily this year is going to be the year, because those other players still need to kind of develop, including like Stephon Castle. I guess you could say like Vassell, and maybe you could throw Sohan in there as well. But they're still a young team despite them having kind of the veterans of Harrison Barnes, Chris Paul, and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's I think it sort of bodes well for the Spurs' future moving forward. This year I don't know if they're going to be able to necessarily get into the hump, but they might be. They might squeeze into the play-in. Next year might be a little bit more better, because everybody is a year older in terms of the rookies and also Wemby as well. So I think it kind of looks well. It looks good for them upcoming. So this sort of kind of gives the question. Honestly, like by the time I finish recording, the Warriors might have done something. You know what I mean? It is funny that the Jimmy trade hasn't happened yet. Like, it's like, and everybody's just like, nah, like after seeing that Luka trade, they're like, nah, we don't even know what value is anymore. Like, we don't even know how to We don't even know how to estimate what players are worth anymore because that happened. You know what I mean? It's just like players like it's just so rangy now because you had like when Mikal Bridges got traded, it was like what 5 first-round picks, and also with Gobert it was like 4 first-round picks and obviously some players, but it's like and then you got Luka, it's just like Anthony Davis, and then also Max Christie. It's like that's it. You can have him. It's just like it feels out of whack now, and I'm very curious about what how things are going to go down with Jimmy. Are Phoenix still going to try to go for him at this point? Are the Warriors going to go for him? What's going to be the situation with Vucevic, which I alluded to? I feel like he's kind of on the block as well. Are there any other teams that are going to do something, kind of like a surprise trade? I don't know. It does make for like an interesting trade deadline coming up because already so much shit has happened, but so we'll see. I don't even like look, the messaging from the Warriors is sort of it just kind of goes back and forth between like, oh, this is the team, this is what we should accept, but then like I think last game, yeah, I think this was like after the Thunder game or something, Kerr made some comments about this not being like the complete roster or something along those lines. So it's like it just feels so kind of wishy-washy right now. Of course I would like for them to still make some kind of move or something, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't know what the future is going to look like. So I'm just kind of I'm just holding my breath. I'm not holding my breath. I'm not going to be surprised if something happens or something doesn't happen. Like it just, we'll get there when that bridge, when we cross that bridge. But when a trade does happen for the Warriors, I will be talking about it as soon as I can. In kind of a similar fashion to what happened yesterday. I was so close to like recording something last night. I was like, dude, I'm gonna put like, but no, I feel that I would have been even more erratic than I had been than I was before. So I don't know if that would have been a good idea. I don't think I would have been as coherent. And I still feel like I was pretty incoherent when I was kind of rambling, but yeah, crazy, man, crazy. Again, I feel for Mavs fans. Dude, it's just unbelievable the bullshit that they pulled. I don't know what the future of the Mavericks franchise is going to be. Really, that's just kind of what's at stake. Like, it's like, are they even going to be a Dallas team anymore? Like, what are they going to be? So I don't know. That's going to be something to watch. Obviously, there's probably going to be more reporting that comes out after this kind of blows over. Yeah, there's going to be more trades coming up pretty soon, probably. And just going to keep an eye out for that. But man, dude, what a crazy weekend. What a crazy, crazy weekend. I feel like I might have more stuff to talk about with the kind of the Bulls Kings Spurs trade as well. I feel that I don't know. My brain is so jumbled right now that I don't have. It's hard for me to comment on anything. So I might have more things to talk about there, but we'll kind of see where things go afterwards. But yeah, wild weekend. I'll be kind of catching up on all that stuff, and will try my best to articulate my thoughts on those things as best as I can. But that's going to do for now. Thanks for listening as always. This has been Save the Semantics. Signing off.